Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will start. So we had started with branching, condition checking and branching statement, or decision making and branching statement in C. We started with a simple if statement, and the general syntax is like this: if expression will normally be a relational expression, say a greater than b, something like that, and we open a block. A block is identified using a code. Block of a code is identified using a starting curly brace and ending curly brace, within which we write the statement. So if this condition is true, this will be executed. Otherwise, we go to the remaining part. So based on a condition, some code is either excluded from the execution or included in the execution. If the expression is true, it is included. We will execute this. Otherwise, this part is excluded and the remaining code will be executed. So this is a simple if statement. Then we saw if else statement, where there are two parts actually. If the expression or I can say condition or expression. Okay. If the expression is true, this part will be executed, and in that time this will not be executed. If the expression is false, this part will not be executed, this will be executed, else part will be executed. But in any case, remaining part of the code, after the entire thing, whatever code is there, that will be executed. This will be executed in all the cases. Okay. So if else is slightly modified or advanced version of simple if else statement. Here else part is not there. In case of true, what to execute is there, what special code to execute is there. But in case it is false, there is no special code to execute. The remaining code will be anyway executed in both cases, irrespective of in this expression and the status of this expression. This code will be anyway executed. And if simple if statement, we saw the example finding the absolute value of a number, an integer. So if the condition was or expression was num less than 0, if that is satisfied, we multiplied the number with -1 to get the absolute value. The other case, if this condition is false, means our input is a positive number, either 0 or positive number. In that case, we don't need to perform any additional operation. The number inputted by the user, that itself is the absolute value. So that is an example of simple if statement. Then for if else statement, the example we saw was finding the larger of two distinct numbers. Okay, equal or distinct numbers. So finding the larger of two numbers. That time, two numbers were entered by the user, and if we check if the expression is true, expression x greater than y is true. That case, we can conclude that the larger value is x. So what I do is, I have another variable to store the result or the larger value. I assign the larger variable to x to the larger variable large. Since x is larger, if it is coming here, if this condition is true, we come here, that means x is larger, we assign that value to variable large. Otherwise, we can conclude that y is larger than x. So in that case, in the large variable, I am going to assign y. So at any point of time, either this or this will be executed, and we get the larger value of the two numbers inputted by the user. And finally, we print the value of large. So whichever may be the larger value out of x and y, that value will be stored in large when we are here. When the execution reaches this statement, we already have the larger value stored in the variable large, and we are printing the value of the larger variable, or what the value of the variable large. And we executed this program. So if I put first number as a smaller number, 45 and 50, I get larger value is 50. If I again put first number larger, second number smaller, then also I get the larger value. So irrespective of the order of number, my logic is working for all integers. Even negative numbers we saw yesterday, it was finding the larger of the two negative numbers, negative or positive. All the cases, it will be covering, by this logic will be covering all this. Okay. So I hope this much is clear for everybody, and these two are your assignment questions also. Very simple program, just to be conversant and comfortable with the syntax and usage of simple statements in C, if statement, if else statement, etc. So this will be your third program for your assignment. This will be the fourth program for the assignment. Okay. Now we will see slightly complex version, again complex forms of if else statement, that is called one that such a statement is called nested if else. Nested if else. Nested if else means within one if we have another if statement. Okay, so it's actually a repetition of the same syntax. Now you can see the code here. This is my outer if. What I have is in red is my outer if and the corresponding else. Okay. Now outer if, the block is starting from here and it is ending here. Now in the true part or the true block of the if condition, or in the if block, I can say if block, I have another independent if else block. This is independent from the inner outer one. Okay. So if I have a block like this, I can write any statement here, any legal valid C statement here. I can declare a variable, or I can have an expression like A is equal to something if all those variables are already there. I can any number of code lines I can write here. So following that, what I am writing here is another if else statement, independent. Okay, independent of the outer one. So the syntax is very similar like what we wrote here, but only thing is that it is within if block of an outer if else statement. Within if block syntax you see, and if condition 2, here I have condition 1, some conditions, a condition 1, let's go condition 1, then condition 2, and for that there is a if part and an else part also. Similarly, in the else block of outer if condition, I can have another independent if else statement. So this is called nested if else statement. So this way I can nest even one more level. I can have one more or n number of levels I can do. I can have another if statement here, if else statement here like this. That is, so theoretically we can repeat this process, nesting process, any number of times. But your program might not require that. The kind of problem you are trying to solve might not require that. So normally like two levels, one outer level and the inner level, or maybe three level. So based on the complexity of the program, this may vary how many levels you are going to nest. So it is not mandatory that you have to nest every time. If your program requires such kind of implementation, we'll have to do the nesting of if else statement. Okay. So we'll take an example. We'll build upon the example here. Is it clear? Whatever I explained. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, please ask. If not, I will show an example that is largest of three numbers. Okay, I'll build on the previous program so that we don't have to repeat typing so many things. So I will remove this part. Okay, instead of larger, I will make largest now because we are going to have three numbers. Okay, these things are statutory. Now the input from the user, there are three numbers. Input from the user, there are three numbers, and we have to find the largest of the three numbers. Okay, so what modification we'll make? I'll make enter three numbers. Then to accept three numbers, I'm going to put one more format string here. Okay, you don't need to write it now. I'll give you time to take a snapshot at the end. So the third variable also I need to accept. So I put, again I'm making a mistake of putting percentage. So this is my statement for scanf statement for reading three numbers from the user. Ampersand x, comma, ampersand y, comma, ampersand z. Okay. Now I have to write the logic. So declaring the variables is over. Getting the input from the user is over. Now I need to write the logic part of it. At this point of time, if I compile, it will compile because I have closed my opening curly brace. I have all other valid statements. It might compile properly, and even it might execute also. Okay, but my logic is not there, so I will not get the largest value. So if I enter 3, I'm going to get some, say, largest value is equal to 0 because my logic is not there. Okay, now I'm going to use if else statement in a nested manner to get the largest of these three numbers. So my outer if statement starts like this. Can anyone tell what is the logic quickly? I take x as my first candidate. I am going to check whether that is the largest number. So for that, I check x greater than y as well as x greater than z. So I use logical and. I have two relational expressions, x greater than y and x greater than z. To get a collective decision out of it, I am using the logical and operator. So my statement is if x greater than y and x greater than z, then I will open the corresponding, no, sorry, this is for nested loop. We will rather go for a simple one. Okay, we have to use nested if else statement. I will not check both the conditions now. I will check my x is my candidate. Now I'm checking, first I'm checking x greater than y. We'll follow this approach. The other approach we'll use for some next variant of if else statement. Okay, now I have checked f x greater than y. We will get into this block only if this is true, right? If this condition is true, then only we are going to execute this block. Now when if I'm in that block, if I reach that block, I can safely conclude that x is greater than y. So in that case, so I am here means x is greater than y. This is a comment. Otherwise I will not enter into this block, right? If this is true, then only I am going to enter into this block. So what I can check now. Now I have safely concluded x greater than y. What should I check next? That you have to tell now. What should I check next? Finally, my objective is to find the largest number.
If x is greater than z.
Yes, so I will check. So I have already concluded x is greater than y. That's why I am here. Otherwise, I will not reach here because this condition is there. Now I will check x greater than z. Then again I will open one more block. Now if I reach here, what is the conclusion?
Large is equal to x.
Yes, what conclusion is x is the largest because I am here because x is larger than y. Now I don't need to worry about y. X is anyway larger than y. Okay. Now I have concluded, if this is true, I concluded that x is larger than z also. So x is larger than y as well as z. Now I can conclude largest. So I will call it as largest. Okay. So largest equal to x. Now for the inner block, I can have an else also, right? If this is not true, so else block looks like this. Okay, I can put the curly brace here also, no problem, or here also. So just to match with this level I am indentation of this indentation, I am putting it here. Now what can I conclude here if it comes here? If x is
Z
greater,
is the largest.
yeah, x is already greater than y, and if x is greater than z, we conclude that x is the largest. If it is false means what? Z is greater than x or at least equal to zx. Okay, assume that we are dealing with distinct numbers. That means if x is greater than x greater than z is false, means z is greater than x. X is anyway greater than y. Now we got a z which is greater than x. So we can conclude largest equal to z. Everybody got this? Why I am writing this? When we enter into this block, so this entire block, see here when we came here, we already assured that x is greater than y. Then we check if x greater than z. If that is also true, that means largest is x. Now what about if this is false? That means z greater than x, assuming that all are distinct numbers. If x greater than xz is false, that means z is greater than x. X was already greater than y. Now z is a new number which is greater than x also. That means z is greater than x as well as y. We got the largest number as z. We assign it here. So if x greater than y, I have dealt inside my if block, or the true block, I have another if else statement, and I am going to get the output here. Is that enough? No, because we considered only the case where x greater than y. What if this is false? It will not execute this entire block. If this condition is false, it will not execute this entire block. So what we need, that means if it is false means y greater than x, right? They are the distinct numbers. So x greater than y false means y is greater than x. So we have to write an else statement also to execute when this condition is false. So for the outer if statement, we are going to write an else block also. Remember, for else block there is no expression like this. Okay, plain else keyword followed by the opening curly bracket. Here for if only you will put normally a relational expression for checking the condition. Now if you are here, what is the conclusion? Y is greater than x, right? X greater than y is false. X greater than y is false. That is why we are here. So to make it clear, I will put one more indentation here. I can put any number of indentation. This is separate block, the code within the if part. Now we are starting the code within the else part. So what I should check now? You tell me quickly, somebody. We concluded that y greater than x. Now we have to check whether y greater than z also. So what I put? Y greater than z. Y is already greater than x, and if y is greater than z, y greater than z is true, that means y is the largest number. Equal to y. If that is false, if y greater than z is false, what is the implication? Z is the largest, or z is greater than y, and y was already greater than x. Now we got z greater than y, so we will put largest equal to z. Clear this logic? I'll make it a little smaller so that you can see the complete block. Clear? Did I make any mistake? How will we know? Either you can analyze this logic, say you put some sample values for x, y, z, and see whether you are getting. And one more time, first time you put a sample value such that x is greater than y, then analyze. Okay, if since x is greater than y, it gets into here, then x greater than. That way you can find out by manually analyzing it. Or what you can do is you can execute the code and see for different inputs. So there is a compilation error coming here. Let's see what is it. Largest value, largest, because I will change the variable name to largest, but I did not update here. Okay. So is this clear to everybody before going into execution? What I did, how nested if else is working? Hope it is clear. I'll execute. So I'll put some larger 2-3 numbers randomly. I get the largest value. This time y was the largest one. X was 3, X is 3, Y is 4, Z is 2. Y was the largest value. That means where it might have went, whether it executed the if block or the else block. Without seeing the code, can somebody tell? Y was the larger value compared to X. So my initial condition will fail because I am checking 3 greater than 4. That is false. So it will go here. Okay. Then it will check 4 greater than Y is 4. 4 greater than 2. That is true. So largest is Y. So that's how I got the largest value as 4. Okay. Now if I execute again, I'll give first number as the largest value. I get the largest value of 3 numbers. If I execute with the last number as the largest value, in any number I put, okay, irrespective of any number I put, I'll get the largest value in any order. If I put negative values, so -4, -7, -12, my largest value is -4. Okay, is this clear?
So can we use the OR operation
Oh,
in a
oh,
single statement?
OR operation where you want to use?
Like in if X is greater, like is it
Basically,
necessary to use else in a repeated time?
it is not necessary to use else. See, this can be done in different logic, but the way I have shown is using nested if else statement. And you can use logical AND operator, and instead of using nested if, there is another variant I can show. But the same task can be achieved in different ways. But how I will use logical OR operator, I am not sure. But instead of else, you cannot use. Okay, else is not equivalent to OR operator. It is not possible. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the code. Whether it is visible now, let me try to make it bold. Okay, how will you, if you want to take a snapshot, how you are going to do it? I need to make it become concise. Okay, I will remove this. Or that is also required. Okay, I'll shift it here. I can shift all these brackets to the previous line. Immediately after else I can give. Okay. So that way I'll make it little concise so that you can take a snapshot. Those who want to take, you can take a snapshot of this. This is the 5th assignment program. What else I will reduce this one? Yeah, this I'll. If also I'll. Okay, I can put it here, or for beautification I can put it in the lower line also. So now you can take a snap. Those who want you can take a snapshot. This is the use of if-else statement for finding the largest of 3 numbers. The third variant, we saw simple if-else if statement. Simple if statement without else part. Else is optional, but you cannot have else without an if. For a if, you can omit an else part if it is not required for your program, but you cannot write directly an else because there is no condition checking in the else part. Okay, you cannot have a else statement without if, but you can have an if statement and omit else part if it is not required. Third, largest of 3 numbers using nested if else statement. Is it clear? Then another variant is there, variant of if else statement. So these are slight variants actually, but we can apply one or other in different scenarios to get your task done. Another variant is called else if ladder. It is a nested chain actually. It is like a ladder, it is going. It's a chain of if else, if else, if else. Here you see, first one I start with an if condition, then set of statements. I can put a set of statements here. If only one statement, I can omit that block, curly bracket block, and I can write it directly, right? But so whenever set of statements are there, more than one statements are there, I have to put that block, curly bracket, opening brace and closing brace. So if condition, execute this, else space if. I read it as else if. Else is the keyword, if is another keyword. So else space if condition 2. Then if that is true, execute this. Else if condition 3. This way I can write so many else if statements. We call it as else if ladder. If so, beginning I start with very simple if. Remaining I have else space if. Else if. Like that I can add so many levels, and at the end I have an else. That is the default statement. Now how the execution happens is, out of the statements, say statements 1, let assume that they are statements, multiple statements are there. Okay, so out of the statements 1, statements through 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., statement n, or this, out of these set of statements only one set will be executed. Out of all of these, only one block will be executed. Either this set of statements, or this set of statements, or this set of statements, or this, or the last default statement where you don't have else if, simply else. Okay. So this is indicated. So any number of levels you can have like this. That's why I have put dots here. Okay, that is not part of the syntax, to indicate that up to n levels you can have. Okay, sometimes this kind of structure will be useful for taking an action whenever there are multiple conditions involved. In our largest of three numbers, we had multiple conditions. We had to check x greater than y, then the another condition x greater than z, then y greater than z. Like that, multiple conditions were there. So in such cases, we can apply else if ladder or nested if else. So there is no hard and fast rule that we have to use else if ladder only, or like that. As long as our task is completed, work is completed, our problem is solved, we get the correct answer, we can use any of these variants. So first one, simple if, then followed by if else, then nested if else, then now it is else if ladder. So we are going to repeat the same problem, finding the largest of three numbers using else if ladder. Any doubt you are getting, you can ask me. These kind of structures are very common in almost all the programming languages. So if you understand that how it works, it is pretty easy. In any language you will be able to understand this. Okay. So these structures are common to, only the keyword you used or the syntax will vary slightly. Sometimes this parenthesis is not required. I can simply write x greater than y. Like that, small syntax difference will be there, but most of the languages, C, C++, Java and all, it is like this, if followed by a parenthesis. Now how I am going to use else if ladder to achieve largest of three numbers instead of nested if else, I will demonstrate. First I will check x greater than y and x greater than z. So if that is true, I can safely conclude that largest equal to what? X. X is greater than y as well, and means as well as. Okay. So both conditions are satisfied. So that means largest value is x. Now else part, or if that is not correct, okay, x greater than y and x greater than z, if that is not correct, what I can conclude? In the if block I concluded that x is the largest value. Okay, here I concluded x is the largest value. Now if this entire expression is false, what can I conclude? Can I conclude which is the largest value? Think. Can I conclude which is the largest value? Here I concluded x is the largest, but in the else part can I conclude? We cannot conclude because y and z we have not checked. So I cannot say either y or z which is the larger one. I cannot conclude. But one thing I can conclude, x is not the largest. Can I conclude x is not the largest? If x was largest, we would have entered into this block. If x was the largest number, we would have entered into this block and we stop our execution logic part and we would go to this part. But when if I come to else part, one thing I can conclude, x is not the largest. But out of y and z, I am not sure. I am still unclear out of y and z which is the larger one. So what I do is I use else if and check else if y greater than z. I don't need to worry about x now. If I come to else part, I am sure that x is not the largest. Ignore that. Ignore x. You don't need to use. So else if y greater than z, what I can conclude? X is not the largest. That means y and z are the candidates for largest position now, largest number now. Out of that, I found that y is greater than z. I will conclude largest is equal to y. And if that is also true, now that is also false. If this is true, I enter here and conclude that y is the largest value. X was eliminated from the competition. Only y and z were remaining for the largest position. Now I found that y is greater than z. I conclude largest is equal to y. If and for this if part, I am going to write else part now. In this nested if else if ladder, the else I write is corresponding to the closest if, not for this. For this if, there can be only one else. For this if, this is the else. Okay, it's like monogamy. Okay, only one wife is allowed or one husband is allowed. For this if, this is the else. For this if, this is the else. Okay, now if this is false, if y greater than z, I can put largest equal to y. If that is false, I can conclude that what? Largest equal to what? What is the largest value? If you don't respond to this, I conclude that you did not understand.
Z.
Z. How is it? X. If x was the largest value, we would have ended this. We ended here and nothing else will be. I told out of those statements, only one will be executed. In those else if ladder, one set only will be executed. Either this or this or this, like that. So if x was largest, we would have executed this and came out of the entire thing, entire else if ladder. Okay. Then since that is not the largest value, then in that case only we are coming to else if. And if y was largest, we would have ended here and concluded that largest is equal to y. That is also false. Then we will enter here. So this is not executed. This is not executed. Only this will be executed. So see, since it is only one line, I can omit putting braces. Here also I could have omitted it, but just for generality to remove confusion, I have included. But whenever there are multiple statements in an if block or else block, you have to put this. Otherwise, the second line will be excluded from that if block. It will not be treated as part of the if block. Okay. So generally, it's always better to put opening and curly bracket for if and else. This is the safest option. But if you are sure that you don't create any confusion in the logic, there is no confusion in the logic, you can omit if it is only single statement. Okay, if you immediately put another statement here after the semicolon, these are actually two statements. This is one statement, this is another statement. Okay, so it's not single, this is single statement. Now my program is complete. So I have used else if ladder, but only it's not so many else ifs. Only one else if I have used, and finally the last else. Okay, one if. But this thing you can repeat n number of times. Else if x y greater than z. Then if you have one more variable, else if like that. But our current problem requires only this many. That is why I have. So when it comes to your lab program, I think there is a program for finding the grade based on the mark, concluding the grade or predicting the grade based on the mark obtained. There you can probably use if else any number of multiple levels. Okay. So we'll execute this. So largest value is the last number 4. Again, I'll take this as the largest middle number as the largest value. I get this F9. So I have to verify that my program is working for all the cases. I need to make all the numbers, all the 3 test cases I have to try. First one as the largest, second one as the largest, third one as the largest. In all the cases I should get the largest value. Then positive value, negative value, all those things I have to. Can you mute? Somebody is barking. Okay. So I'll put minus negative values. I get minus 3 as the largest value. That means my program is working for almost all the test cases I can imagine. Okay. Or there are multiple sets actually. If it is 3, probably up to 9 combinations you can get. First one largest, second one largest, like that. 9 combination we can get. So almost it is working for all the scenarios. I am pretty sure that it is going to work for other cases also. Okay. So this is your 5th program or 6th program for your assignment. You can take a snapshot now. Any doubt you can ask now. So yesterday we covered simple if statement, then if else statement, nested if else statement today, else if ladder. Any doubt, please ask. So simple relational expression, a compound relational expression. You have a expression 1 here, you have an expression 2, and the outcome of these 2 expressions are combined using logical AND operator. Sometimes you may have to use logical OR operator based on the scenario. Okay. Any question you can ask now? No doubt? Clear? So you will be able to apply if statement, the appropriate if statement in different scenarios, I guess. Okay. So now probably we'll see some of the theoretical aspect or slides. So most of them if statement, switch statement. Tomorrow we'll see switch statement. Conditional operator is already covered in the previous unit. Go to statement is an SLE, self-learning exercise. Okay, these are known as decision making and branching statement or control statements or selection statement. Since out of multiple blocks one block is selected, they are known as selection statement also. Okay, normally as of now we'll use it branching statement, condition checking and branching statement, or decision making and branching statement. Now simple if statement. Simple if statement, if I diagrammatically want to represent the same thing, the standard convention, there is actually this kind of syntaxes and all we can represent using a diagram also, diagrammatically also. So for a condition checking we use a diamond symbol or a rhombus symbol, and we write condition or expression instead of expression, condition. And if it is true, we go to one part. If it is false, if it is true, we go here and execute something. Otherwise, we go in the straight path, normal path. This is a simple if statement representation, diagrammatic representation. I could have given a block here. Okay, something is executed. I could have given a block here. Okay. So after that, it will continue to the remaining. So how do I put an arrow? Okay, let's not do that now. I wanted to put an arrow here and connect it here to bring it back to the normal path. I don't find the arrow symbol. Now, example, we have anyway saw the example finding the absolute value. Then diagrammatically representing the if else statement. Condition true, execute this block, the if block. If condition false, execute another block, that is the else block. After the execution, these flows are joining here, and the common code, the code coming after, basically the printf statement, largest of x and y is this, like that. So the common statement will be executed. These are not part of the if statement or else statement, else block, if or else block. These are part of if else block. Example, I have given a different example here, but we took the larger of two numbers. Here it is like experience greater than 5 and income less than 30,000, employees underpaid, else employees not underpaid. Some other simple example. Okay, if you see that this is there in the notes also, you will clearly understand. Okay. Then we had nested if else statement. So nested if else also I can represent as a flow chart, or such kind of diagrams are called flow charts. So diagrammatically representing the logic of a program, the processing part of a program is typically called a flow chart. So flow chart of if else statement. Okay. Similarly, if else if ladder also has a flow chart that is there in the notes. You can see that how it is drawn. Okay. Any question so far? So some general guidelines. So give matching indentation if and its else matching else. Okay, what I mean to say is, say for this if I have given indentation properly. So this if else is coming in the same level. Okay, so this is more meaningful in the case of nested if else. So this if I have the else here, same level of indentation. This if I have the else here. The advantage, this is just a recommendation so that your code looks very clean. So now if I put randomly like this, say randomly like this, and if you want to decode or debug, analyze this code for any error, any execution error, this is very difficult. Which else is matching with which if, we don't know. Who is the pair of whom, we don't know. So to avoid that, it is recommended that when we write the code itself, we follow certain discipline in terms of providing the indentation. Indentation means the spacing from the left margin. Now it is clear, this else is matching with this else is matching with this. So it is pretty clear. So it's better to give your editor code blocks or any editor use, already they will support indentation, providing automatically taking it here rather than going to the beginning of the line. It will not start from here. If I put an enter here, it will automatically come here with some indentation. So it is supported by the editor, text editor you are using, code editor you are using. And unless you don't want to make your code look very ugly, it is automatically will come. So when you are doing coding, you practice this. then if there is any error in the program, it will be easy for you to make corrections in the error, either in the compilation error or when it is executed, the execution time error, the logical errors you are getting. It will be easy to trace and find what is the reason. Okay, with that we will conclude for today. Tomorrow we will see the another not if else statement. If else is over, another branching statement called switch. Okay, if any doubt is there, you can raise now, otherwise we will conclude now. Thank you. You can join the other class.